What's up, everybody out there watching this? This is the Year in Wrestling 2010 Part 1. This video might go 35-40 minutes because I got a lot to talk about. TNA started on January 4th, 2010. TNA started on Monday night on Spike TV to try to go up against WWE, I guess, for like 1 hour. Because they had a 2-hour show that started at 7 p.m. and Raw used to start at 8 p.m. when it was 2 hours. Anyways, so TNA started on Monday nights. TNA got a lot of new talent and had Hogan and Bischoff come in. Hogan and Bischoff, their contracts when they came into TNA, their contracts probably gave them a ton of power, basically to do whatever they want. And Dixie gave them a lot of power to bring in a lot of new talent, change the product, make it look different. They got rid of the six-sided ring, which I was not a fan of. I mean, I saw it enough already. Six-sided ring was around from 2004 to 2010. It was enough already. But now it's back, whatever. They brought back the four-sided ring. The first pay-per-view Hogan and Bischoff were in power was Genesis 2010. Hogan and Bischoff cut a promo. And Hogan and Bischoff, stupid crowd in Orlando is chanting, "We want six sides, we want six sides." They wanted their six-sided ring back. Well, Hogan shut them down real quick and said, "We got rid of that playpen and we got this ring back, the original. The four-sided ring that every professional wrestling show should have a four-sided ring. Unless they're in Mexico and they're doing Lucha Libre, then it can be six sides." So I'm a fan of the four-sided ring, not the six-sided ring. I mean, the six-sided ring is okay if you're going to keep it in your company for 1 or 2 years, but then it gets boring. I mean, looking at it just gets boring to me. And seeing it is just stupid. But whatever. It's not about the six-sided ring. But Hogan and Bischoff got rid of the six-sided ring. January 4th, 2010, TNA, their first ever Monday Night Live show. Went up, I believe it's 3 hours long. I think it's 3 hours long. And they had surprises throughout the entire show. Monday Night Raw, January 4th, 2010. Raw was also 3 hours long, I believe. And they kept promoting it over and over and over, probably because WWE knew TNA was on Spike on Monday. So WWE decided, they made a deal with Bret, the Hitman Hart. Bret Hart was returning to the WWE for the first time in, I think 14 years, or whatever, however long it was. I mean, 97 to 2010, 13, 14 years. Bret was gone. He was welcome back. He came back on Raw. Got a huge pop, huge reaction from the crowd. And Bret, I believe, called out Shawn Michaels in the ring. Shawn Michaels came in. And Bret said, "I want to bury the hatchet." Put his hand out. Shawn shook his hand. And they gave themselves a hug. It was nice to see that they buried the hatchet, finally. And now, or years after 2010, I believe Shawn Michaels and Bret actually talk to each other in text and on the phone. So, good for them. I hope they're still good friends. So, WWE had Raw and the return of Bret Hart, which was very, very big for wrestling fans and Bret Hart fans. I'm sure Bret Hart fans are really, really, really happy. I was happy for Bret that he came back because he belonged in the WWE. That's where he made his career. TNA had Hogan and Bischoff, I believe, kick off the Monday night show, or Hogan did at least. Got a pretty good pop. And then Scott Hall, Kevin, it's hard to remember, but I'm just kind of guessing. Hogan was in the ring. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, X-Pac came in the ring, or Six-Pac, whatever TNA was calling him. Sean Waltman. They were in the ring trying to get Hogan to join them, I guess, and Hogan refused and said, "This is not the old days. I'm not going to ride with you guys." So they just got out of the ring, or they might have tried to attack Hogan. I don't remember. Anyways, then the first hour, they had a Steel Asylum cage match. The giant circle, like dome type red cage. Steel Asylum. And Jeff Hardy made his TNA debut. Not his debut, but Jeff Hardy came back to TNA Wrestling. Signed a new contract, got a huge reaction when he showed up. I was pretty shocked and surprised to see Jeff Hardy come back to TNA in 2010. Because I thought he'd go back to the WWE. But he did not. Anyways, Jeff Hardy made a surprise appearance and came back in the first hour, I believe. Then the second hour, second or third hour, Ric Flair came out of a limo and came to the Impact Zone. Ric Flair was now in TNA, which was crazy to see and pretty shocking, because Ric Flair just had his retirement ceremony in 2006 or 8. He retired from WWE and pro wrestling, but now he's back, and he did wrestle once or twice in TNA. I'm not going to say Rick should have stayed retired, because it's his life, and it was his decision to wrestle in TNA. So Ric Flair came to TNA. Jeff Hardy came back to TNA. And I think might have been a third surprise of somebody. I don't remember. But the main event, I believe, was Kurt Angle versus AJ Styles for the TNA World title. And then Ric Flair eventually started joining AJ Styles and managed him. And stupidly, TNA tried to turn AJ Styles into like a mini Nature Boy Ric Flair, which was not going to work ever. AJ Styles is too talented. He did not need to be riding the coattails of Ric Flair. AJ got over on himself, by himself, before. He did not need to start wearing robes and dressing like Ric Flair. It was pretty stupid. But whatever. So then TNA at Genesis, they brought in a lot of new people. I believe Spanky, Brian Kendrick was one of them. Desmond Wolfe, formerly from Ring of Honor, I can't remember his name. Nigel McGuinness was Desmond Wolfe in TNA. He signed with TNA, basically because everybody thought Desmond Wolfe and Nigel McGuinness would go to the WWE, but reportedly he failed their physical, so they didn't sign him after he failed the test, but TNA took him. Val Venus came back for a short time and appeared on the Genesis pay-per-view. The Nasty Boys, I'm not joking, the fucking Nasty Boys came back to wrestling in 2010. They reunited in TNA. I think they wrestled once or twice on Impact. Once was against the Dudleys, where I think they got 3D'd through tables. And then the Nasty Boys did not last very long at all. The Nasty Boys were gone pretty quick. Hogan bringing them in because he was close with the Nasty Boys, and he wanted to bring them in and I guess give them paydays because they're his friends. But it did not work. As a fan, I did not want to see the Nasty Boys in 2010 wrestling anybody. I mean, they were way past their prime. My opinion, and both of them were pretty beat up. Their bodies were pretty beat down by 2010. So now I'm going to talk about the first WWE pay-per-view of 2010, which was the Royal Rumble. Took place from Atlanta, Georgia. Royal Rumble had kicked off with 8 Divas tag. Gail Kim, Kelly Kelly, Eve Torres, and the Bella Twins. 10, I guess it was 10 on 10. A 10 Divas tag, because there's 5 on 5. Bella Twins, Eve Torres, Kelly Kelly, Gail Kim defeated Maurice, Alicia Fox, Jillian Hall, Katie Lee Burchill, and Natalia. ECW champion Christian defeated Ezekiel Jackson. U.S. champion The Miz defeated MVP to retain the U.S. title. WWE champion Sheamus defeated Randy Orton. And Sheamus won the title at TLC 2009 when he defeated John Cena in a tables match. So now Sheamus retains against Randy Orton by DQ. Mickie James defeated women's champion Michelle McCool to win the women's title. World Heavyweight Champion The Undertaker defeated Rey Mysterio Jr. And Edge made a surprise return. Edge, the rated R superstar Edge, returned and won the 2010 Royal Rumble match. He was out since June or July of 2009, I believe. I think so. Edge returned 6 months later and made an appearance at the Rumble. And he won it. So he was going to WrestleMania 26. So that was the Royal Rumble. It was great to see Edge return, even though I knew it was coming. Because I read some stupid spoilers that Edge was coming back. So Royal Rumble 2010 was pretty good. But it wasn't the best Rumble I've ever seen. Now on the Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber. I'm not going to talk about every match. I'm going to just mention the main events. I think this was an Elimination Chamber match. I'm not sure. Anyways, John Cena defeated WWE Champion Sheamus, Ted DiBiase Jr., Randy Orton, Triple H, and Kofi Kingston to win the WWE Championship. And then Batista, I don't know if this is right after, but I don't remember. Batista then defeated WWE Champion John Cena for the title. Right after Cena won it. I don't know how the hell Batista got a title shot, but he did. Intercontinental Champion was Drew McIntyre. He was doing good work at the time. He defeated Kane. Another Elimination Chamber match was Chris Jericho defeating World Heavyweight Champion The Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, John Morrison, CM Punk, and R-Truth to win the World Heavyweight Championship. And then, before it ended, Shawn Michaels came out from the bottom of the Elimination Chamber, came out from one of the steel platforms, lifted it up, came out, jumped out, was waiting behind The Undertaker because Undertaker would not. He was refusing to give Shawn Michaels a rematch. Refusing to give Shawn Michaels a WrestleMania rematch. So Shawn Michaels took business into his own hands to get the rematch he wanted against The Undertaker because he was obsessed with beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He thought he could do it. He wanted to do it. Taker turns around, HBK super kicks him, and costs him the World Heavyweight Championship. So after that, Undertaker was definitely going to accept a match with HBK for WrestleMania 26. Now I'm going to talk about WrestleMania 26, which took place from Phoenix, Arizona, in the Arizona Cardinals Stadium. Took place on March 28th, 2010. First match was Yoshitatsu. Almost forgot that guy was even in the WWE, but he was. Yoshitatsu won a 20-man battle royal, last eliminating Zack Ryder. Unified Tag Team Champions The Miz and The Big Show defeated John Morrison and R-Truth to kick off the pay-per-view. Up next, Randy Orton. This was a pretty damn good triple threat. Randy Orton defeated Ted DiBiase Jr. and Cody Rhodes in a triple threat. Jack Swagger defeated Kane, Dolph Ziggler, Evan Bourne, Matt Hardy, Christian, Drew McIntyre, Kofi Kingston, and Benjamin and MVP A lot of guys are in this. A lot of guys. Too many, in my opinion. It should only been 5 or 6. But it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys were in that Money in the Bank. I think 10 guys. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 guys were in that Money in the Bank. That's way too many. That's a clusterfuck. That's not good. But whatever. They wanted all those guys, I'm sure, to get on WrestleMania. And they all deserved to be on the WrestleMania card. On the pay-per-view. Because this was on pay-per-view. This was 2010. There was no WWE Network in 2010. So Jack Swagger wins Money in the Bank. They wanted to push him, and they did. Because he eventually won the World Heavyweight Championship. Triple H, up next, defeated Sheamus. They had a pretty good match. Rey Mysterio Jr. defeated CM Punk. They had a good match. Bret Hart returned to WrestleMania and returned to the ring for the first time since Survivor Series 97. Bret Hart defeated Mr. McMahon by submission in a lumberjack street fight. Every lumberjack was a member of the Hart family. You had the Hart Dynasty down there, Tyson Kidd, David Hart Smith, and Natalya. David Hart Smith and Natalya are Hart family members. Tyson Kidd is not, but he married into the family. Also, you had Bret Hart's sister, Diana Hart. His other sisters, I forget their names. But almost every living Hart family member was at ringside as a lumberjack. Vince kept trying to escape the ring. They would throw his ass back in there. It's pretty good. And it was good for Bret. I'm sure returning to WrestleMania felt great to Bret. I'm sure it was good for him, good for his mind, good to close the door on the Montreal screw job, good to close that awful chapter in his life. Even though he got paid a couple million to be in WCW, whatever. I'm sure he didn't like what the WWE did to him in the screw job. So I'm sure it was great for Bret to come back and work a WrestleMania and have one last final farewell match. Because he didn't wrestle after WrestleMania 26 except for like once on Raw, where he did very little and won the U.S. title. And then at SummerSlam, Bret Hart was with Team WWE against Nexus, I believe. So it was great to see Bret return to the ring, even though he couldn't do that much, except punch and kick and use a chair. Because his body's pretty beat up. He suffered a very severe concussion that ended his career in WCW by Goldberg at Starrcade 99. So I'm sure it felt good for Bret to beat Vince with that chair over and over and over. Must have hit Vince at least 25 times with that chair. And I'm sure Vince wanted Bret to take his frustrations out and let Bret do whatever he wanted. Because at one time, Bret and Vince were very, very close. So up next, we had World Heavyweight Champion Chris Jericho defeat Edge. Edge won the Rumble, but he didn't win the world title. Vicky Guerrero, this was crap, this match. Vicky Guerrero, Layla, Michelle McCool, Alicia Fox, and Maurice defeated Eve Torres, Kelly Kelly, Mickie James, Gail Kim, and Beth Phoenix. It was bad. It was not very good. The only part that was good that I enjoyed was seeing Maurice, because I was a huge fan of hers. Up next, John Cena defeated WWE Champion Batista by submission to win the WWE Championship. Good for Cena, even though I didn't care. Main event was The Undertaker defeating Shawn Michaels in their back-to-back WrestleMania back-to-backs rematch. It was damn good. WrestleMania 25 was a better match because it was our first WrestleMania one-on-one. It was much better, but 26 was also damn good. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Taker versus HBK at WrestleMania 26. Sadly, HBK lost, so he had to leave and retire from wrestling. And he hasn't wrestled since, and he shouldn't. He should stay retired because he's done it all. Shawn Michaels has nothing to prove. There's no reason for him to come back. The Undertaker has nothing to prove either, but he's still involved in WWE. Wrestling-wise, I'm talking about. He wrestles once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times a year. At least he did in 2015. He wrestled about 5 times last year on pay-per-view or on shows. So that was WrestleMania 26. Pretty good WrestleMania. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Money in the Bank ladder match. I enjoyed Orton, Cody Rhodes, Ted DiBiase was very good. I enjoyed Taker versus Shawn Michaels. I enjoyed Bret Hart returning. That was great to see as a longtime fan. So now I'm going to talk about TNA 2010 pay-per-views up until the end of March. First one was TNA Genesis, which I'm trying to find. TNA Genesis took place in January. Where the hell's the fucking page? Here it is. TNA Genesis 2010. X Division champion, the Amazing Red, defeated Brian Kendrick. As I said, Brian Kendrick just came into TNA under Hogan and Bischoff's power. Sean Morley, who was Val Venus, came out with the towel. Did the Val Venus gimmick. It was pretty stupid. Sean Morley defeated Christopher Daniels, which was pretty pointless. And I felt bad for Christopher Daniels because he was a great worker. And then he had to job to Sean Morley, which was... Sean Morley was not a TNA original and wasn't even in TNA maybe for a couple, 2-3 months, and he was gone. Tara defeated Knockouts champion ODB to win the championship. That was good. I was happy for Tara. Always been a fan of her. Matt Morgan and Hernandez defeated World Tag Team Champions of British Invasion, Doug Williams and Magnus, to win the tag titles. Desmond Wolfe, I believe he's with a female new manager, female valet. Her name, I believe, was Chelsea. I think her name was Chelsea. She was English. She was very attractive, very hot woman was Chelsea with Desmond Wolfe. She was not involved in wrestling ever before. I believe Bischoff or somebody, I think Bischoff found her because she's a model somewhere. Bischoff found Chelsea, brought her into TNA. I thought it was a good idea because she was a damn hot chick. And she's with Desmond Wolfe for maybe 5 or 6 months in TNA, and then Chelsea disappeared out of TNA. And I don't even think Chelsea lasted a year in TNA. Desmond Wolfe didn't last very long either because he just stopped wrestling. I guess he's too injured or he had some type of disease that nobody knew about where he had to retire. Desmond Wolfe defeated the Pope, D'Angelo De Niro. Beer Money defeated Kevin Nash and Sean Waltman. Mr. Anderson was brought into TNA. This was his first pay-per-view. Mr. Anderson defeated Abyss. I was happy to see Mr. Anderson show up in TNA in 2010 because I was a fan of him when he was Mr. Kennedy. World Champion AJ Styles defeated Kurt Angle. That was Genesis. I shouldn't have went over every match, but I just did because it was a new era in TNA. It was under Hogan and Bischoff. So now, against all odds, the main event was, and the Nasty Boys were actually on this fucking pay-per-view, the fucking Nasty Boys, which they were both way over the fucking hill. The Nasty Boys defeated Team 3D. I don't know who booked that, but they shouldn't have. World Champion main event was World Champion AJ Styles defeating Samoa Joe. I'm sure it was a good main event, even though I did not ever get to see Against All Odds 2010 because I did not order it. But I did order Destination X 2010. I believe I ordered it. I can't remember. I probably have it on videotape somewhere in my room. Anyways, main event was for Destination X. Kurt Angle first defeated Mr. Anderson by submission. They had a very good match, and Kurt Angle and Mr. Anderson went into a very good feud. They had a good series of matches in 2010. They had a very good match at TNA Lockdown 2010, where I believe Kurt Angle did a moonsault off the top of the cage, which was absolutely insane to see Kurt Angle in 2010 do a moonsault off a cage. Can't believe he did it, but he did it and pulled it off. Main event was AJ Styles again, defending the world title, and defeated Abyss, and AJ ended in a no contest. And they were really trying to push Abyss as like Hulk Hogan's. He was following Hogan around. Abyss ended up getting, somehow he beat up Ric Flair, I think on a TNA Monday Night show, and took his Hall of Fame, his WWE Hall of Fame ring, and Abyss started wearing the Hall of Fame ring. Or maybe it was Hogan. Maybe Hogan, in a promo, I think Hogan gave his Hall of Fame ring to Abyss for power, to wear it, that it would give him strength or something like that. And so Abyss was wearing a WWE Hall of Fame ring. So I guess Abyss is a Hall of Fame member. Or he was in 2010. That's pretty funny. And I didn't get that pissed off that Hogan or Flair's Hall of Fame ring was worn by Abyss. It was just a storyline, people. It's not like Abyss stole the ring and TNA was keeping it. That's not what happened. Get this shit off. Let me check something. Anyways, getting distracted. I shouldn't be. Just trying to check if I taped SmackDown earlier, because I saw that I got home like around the last 40 minutes of SmackDown. I was home, so I don't know what the hell happened. Looks like it did not tape. Very odd. Anyways, didn't tape. Doesn't really matter. I'm sure I didn't miss much on SmackDown. Anyways, back to TNA. So, as I said, Abyss wearing a WWE Hall of Fame did not upset me because it was just a damn storyline, people. Lockdown, TNA Lockdown 2010 took place from St. Louis or St. Charles, Missouri. Rob Van Dam debuted in TNA, I believe, during a TNA Monday Night show. So RVD debuted in TNA. It was good to see him in TNA. RVD defeated James Storm to kick off Lockdown. Suicide then defeated Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, and Brian Kendrick in a Escape the Cage match. Because every match, again, was in the the 4 sides of steel. In the Lockdown pay-per-view, every match was in the cage. Up next, we had Kevin Nash defeat Eric Young, which in 2010, Eric Young was pretty buried. anyways, the beautiful people up next. Velvet Sky, Madison Rayne, along with, what's her name? Lacey Von Erich. She came into TNA, I believe, at the end of 2009 or 2010. Lacey Von Erich came into TNA, and she joined the beautiful people. She couldn't wrestle that well at all. She was pretty awful. But I do think Lacey Von Erich was a little bit better than Eva Marie is. Anyways, then Angelina Love was seen in the crowd in 2010. She came back to TNA. TNA had to let Angelina go, I think, in 2008 or 9. They had to let Angelina Love go because she had visa problems with her visa. Because she's a Canadian. So she needed a visa to work in the United States, and I guess her visa expired or it ran out, or she had problems getting her new visa. Anyways, the problems were eventually fixed, and Angelina Love, I was happy she was brought back to TNA, and she feuded, and she was a babyface, and she feuded with the beautiful people, attacked Velvet Sky, attacked Lacey, attacked Madison Rayne, but then the beautiful people had 3-on-1, and they beat down Angelina. Anyways, beautiful people, Velvet Sky, Madison Rayne defeated Knockouts champion Angelina Love and Tara. And then Rayne won the Knockouts title by defeating Tara. And in 2010, Madison Rayne, she looked great, and she was a damn good wrestler and a damn good Knockouts champion. I was a big fan of Madison Rayne in 2010. Kazarian up next defeated Shannon Moore and Homicide to win the vacant X Division Championship. So Shannon Moore was another guy that was brought in under Hogan and Bischoff. I think Matt Hardy also came in to TNA and probably got Shannon Moore hired because they are friends. Team 3D up next defeated Kevin Nash and Scott Hall in the cage. Kurt Angle up next defeated Mr. Anderson in the 4 sides in the cage match. It was very good. World Champion AJ Styles defeated the Pope, which was pretty good. I wanted the Pope to win the world title. I was a big fan of the Pope at this time, but AJ retained. And I was okay with AJ retaining. I just would have liked to see the Pope get a world title reign. Up next, the main event was Team Hogan. They built this pretty good. Team Hogan was Abyss, Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff Hardy, and Rob Van Dam. They defeated Team Flair, who were the team of Sting, Robert Roode, James Storm, and Desmond Wolfe. And then during the Lethal Lockdown match between Team Flair and Team Hogan, during it, Hogan came out. Flair got in the cage. Hogan hit him, punched him, threw Flair into the cage. In the second Ric Flair hit the cage, he went down and bladed. Ric Flair bled a lot. At Lockdown 2010, it was pretty funny. That Flair at that age still wanted to bleed and still wrestle. So that was Lockdown 2010. I thought it was a very good pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. This ends my year in wrestling 2010 part 1 video. Hope you enjoyed it. Sorry, it's over 30 minutes. I couldn't help it because I had to talk about TNA on Monday night against Raw on January 4th, 2010. History was made because another company that wasn't WCW tried to go up against Raw head-to-head. Even though I think they were head-to-head. TNA started an hour before Raw did, I think. Because I think Raw was only 2 hours that night. Or maybe Raw was three hours. I don't know. But I know TNA on January 4th, 2010, I know TNA was 3 hours long. Anyways, the first edition of TNA on Monday night got a 2.0 rating. I'm sure TNA wishes They could get back to 2.0s and have 2 million people watch again. I don't see 2 million people ever watching TNA Impact again, especially when it's on Pop and not seen by not on a major network like Spike or USA Network, which both of them have over 90 million homes and they don't cost extra to buy. Like Pop TV, a lot of people don't get Pop TV because I believe you got to pay extra for it. Or if you have a sports package, they give you Pop TV. I don't know. But I believe Pop TV on a lot of systems is not available unless you order it and pay $3.95 for it or whatever it would cost. Hope you enjoyed it. Year in Wrestling 2010 is in the books, part 1. Bye for now, everybody. Follow me on Twitter at TNA WWE Guy and at NXT WWE Guy. Bye for now. Have a great Friday.